Hello class and welcome to Western Civilization 105. This is the second part to complement Western Civilization 104. Some of you may not have had Western Civ 104. I will start this class off right away, kind of giving you a little background on the topics before we go into it. For those of you who have had this class before, and especially for those of you who had me for 104, some of this will be repetitive information that you already received, but I want you to do the work assignment regardless, and it'll be a good refresher for you in any case. So this is a cram course, and I want to remind you all that cram courses cram, okay, like 3 chapters a week. It's a lot of work, but it's realistic to get a successful grade in my class. Again, what I want to remind you, for those of you that have not, been engaged with a cram course, we are doing all of one semester in a reduced amount of time. So we're keeping the same amount of information, but we are reducing the amount of time to cover it, meaning that you have more time you have to devote to the subject while we're doing it. Again, this is a very realistic, though, for you to succeed in my class. For those of you that have not had a class with me, just to explain, you will not be required to memorize a lot. You'll be required to do a lot. And my instructions are very straightforward. You will have discussions, and in the discussions, if you say something incorrect about history, I will politely correct you, but you will not lose points for it. I want to encourage free speech and freedom of expression and of thought, but you have to be respectful to your fellow students. This is very important, okay? It doesn't happen to me often, but occasionally I do have to intervene. Most students have understood, though, when they, on accident, they just said something they didn't realize that could be offensive, and it was corrected. Okay, that's the important part. So that's the only thing you need to look out for on the discussions. And when I talk about writing how many points, like usually on average 2 points per video lecture. For example, if you said in the video, it shows that Martin Luther was a member of the Catholic clergy. That's 1 point. Then in the lecture, it says that he began to question the teachings of the Catholic Church. That's the 2nd point. Okay, and that's all you would need to write from that particular video, whether it's a lecture from me, somebody else, or a documentary piece. And every once in a while, I'll ask you to write more notes for a longer video, and then you do it that way. Okay. Let's see. And then, okay. Oh, to point this out, you'll see a lot of videos, and this overwhelms a lot of my students, and they'll say, I have to write notes on every one? Well, if you look carefully at the time slot that I have for each video, usually averaging 15 minutes, and some of the documentary videos and maybe other lectures, it'll add up to about the same amount of time that if you were taking my class in a face-to-face classroom. Most of the time, it'll be less than that, okay? So keep that in mind, okay? And then for Sundays, you have to write papers, 2 papers, but they can be 1 page for each topic. That's a total of 2 pages for 2 different papers. But if you write me just 1 page, I need you to put everything that I asked from the question into the paper, and it needs to be filled up and have content and substance, okay? Now, what am I looking for? I'm not an English professor. I don't grade you based on that. If you have such bad grammar or spelling that I can't understand you, or I just see that it's really, really written in a way that's not fitting for college. For instance, if you're using lowercase letters misspelled, at the beginning of sentences, or just having a real train wreck of a paper, what I'll do is I'll encourage you to do is to go to the writing center, okay? I struggled with writing quite a bit, even through grad school, because I didn't take my English class. I was a bad student in high school. I'm a late bloomer, so I have a lot of empathy and sympathy for those of you who maybe have a hard time catching up. That's what I did. But I did it. You can do it. It's not my natural intellect. You don't get glasses and all of a sudden get smart. I just got beat up for wearing these things in elementary school, more than I actually learned anything by reading with them. In any case, yeah. So the papers, going back to that, you need to not worry about writing a scholarly paper, but simply addressing what I've asked. You can use the notes from the video notes to help formulate a paper that usually is kind of asking you to address a topic that I just covered. And some students find that to be so simple and straightforward that they question themselves. No. I am going to have you do something that seemed a little bit repetitive. But the idea is that I want you to walk away learning something, to have memorized or have something in your head that I mentioned so much or we went over several times and you say, oh, okay, I get it already. And I'm like, yeah, now you do. Now you do. Okay. So that's pretty much the routine. You only have a midterm and a final exam. So my class is not based on how well you do in the exams. The overall grade will be affected on you keeping up with these mere 5 weeks for this entire course. Okay, that's the secret. Now, the content. I'm talking about Western civilization, and this is the civilization that we live in, that we're a part of. And I get to teach this also showing how the West affects the modern world all the way up until now. And I think that you're going to find this to be really important. And maybe you will be a little shocked, overwhelmed, in awe. Sometimes people come away from Western civilization feeling very good about Western civilization, and sometimes they feel very bad about it. The very bad part is that places like Africa, Latin America, places like Asia and the Middle East are all going to become dominated by the Western world. And I just named off a few. So we shouldn't be shocked that, when I say we, those of us of a white European background should not be shocked that, especially in the later part of, since colonialism and the slave trade, that Western civilization becomes more of a controversial topic for other people in the world. And so that's logical, and we need to understand that. And I think that while you take this class, you will understand that. And you know, when we did the first part with 104, it wasn't until the end that we started getting into more of that controversy. I mean, what we learned in 104 is that, you take Western history. Westerners did mean things to each other. They did good things for each other. They fought with each other, and they survived together. And they were mainly within their confines of their white European world, their Germanic, Celtic, and Slavic world. And then, it was never that closed off, okay, first of all. But mainly, we see more changes in terms of things with the African slave trade. Slavery was going on with many other cultures, but in that regard, and then, eventually, we'll just see what happens to India and, like I said, Middle East, blah, blah, blah. So this will be very helpful for us understanding the complexities, not just of Western civilization, but of the very world itself and the relationship with the world to Western civilization, okay? And this goes on. I want to also mention, I don't grade based on you agreeing with my ideological bent that I have on teaching in this class. That does happen with some professors. I know this because I've experienced this in the past myself, and I've heard some students complain. Don't worry about saying the things that I'm going to agree with to make your grade successful. answer the assignment and in a respectful, intelligent way, and I grade you accordingly. Okay. Um, all right. So also, okay. Now let me address. Um, I am a single dad. My daughter just graduated high school, so I have basically an adult living with me who's going to be starting junior college as well. Um, and I work two jobs. One of them is this one, and the other one is I work at a child education center. And I bring this up to say that I'm a very busy person, and most of my online students are extremely busy. I have a lot of people who have families and also jobs, doing full load at college, and just personal problems. And sometimes, it can be something as simple as heartache, over a relationship problem. It's very distracting, right? Or death of a loved one. Um, I had there was a speaker in a government class that when I was at Downey High School, Modesto, many, many years ago. And he said, people judge us by our actions, not our intentions. So if you're not turning in work, or it's sporadic and it's very poor quality work, your actions are that you're not being you're not really doing your part as a student. But your intentions might be very well, but you have all these things going on, but you haven't communicated with me, as I don't know that. What I want to encourage you is if you start to fall behind because of personal problems, you don't need to tell me your personal problems to justify the situation. You just need to communicate with me so that we can maybe discuss kind of where you're at, and maybe we can come up with a plan to keep you in the class and maybe adjust it to your needs at the time. That's the best. That's how you handle things with me in this class. If you show up on week 3 in our short condensed class and all of a sudden tell me you haven't really been doing much work for these 3 weeks, and now you want to catch up and do 15 assignments because of X, Y, or Z, even if I sympathize with you, it's hard for me to really do much for you at that point. Okay. So I need you to really think that realize it's important to communicate with your professor about these things. So talking about communication, I normally would never encourage texting or phone calls from students. If I had a face-to-face class, we can meet right after class, or we can set up an appointment to meet at in my office hours or whatever. Can't do that with online. So I encourage all of you to text me or call whenever you have a need. Doing email, I find that I take longer to get back a hold of you guys, and sometimes I even don't see your email because there's just so much email that I get, and some of it's like selling eggs and other stuff, random stuff that just gets in my email, and then I'm missing an important message. So I encourage you to text or call me, and to say that if I don't get back to you within 24 hours, you should text or call me again. You're not annoying me. Sometimes, people send texts to my phone and I don't get them, and I did that before with other people. My daughter and I have shown each other our phones and realized, like, mine says that I sent her one and it didn't get to her, and I was mad that she didn't respond. Or vice versa, actually. And I've had that with so technology can fail or send like a text like way later. Whatever. So just be persistent, and I will make sure that I get back a hold of you as soon as possible. And so I think that's all I wanted to say on this. I'm going to have up the links for My History Lab coming up soon. That's the other thing. I'll explain more about My History Lab, and I'll have a link for it. If you can't afford a textbook, you'll be able to have access to the e-text for up to 15 days. So just keep that in mind. I should have that all up by Saturday. I will also open up this first week of work this weekend, probably Saturday as well. Okay. In the meantime, if you need to, I encourage you to call me or text me now, and I can go over any other questions for you that I did not cover, or that you would have for me. So good luck, get ready to work and learn, and I hope you have a great time with this class, and I'll do my best to be there for you and to make this a great experience.